The village of Black Hollow had one unspoken rule: never enter the forgotten forest after dusk. For centuries, stories of whispers in the trees, shadowy figures, and people who entered but never returned had been passed down. Some claimed the forest was cursed. Others believed it was something worse, something alive. The villagers lived in constant fear, their lives overshadowed by the looming presence of the forest. Legends spoke of creatures that roamed the woods, unseen but always felt, their presence a chilling reminder of the unknown. On moonless nights, the bravest souls would light lanterns and stand at the forest's edge, daring the darkness to reveal its secrets. An ancient book, filled with cryptic symbols and forgotten lore, hinted at the forest's true nature, but its secrets remained locked away. And so, the tales from the shadows continued, a haunting echo of the forgotten forest's chilling tale. One cold autumn evening, Elena Carter, a journalist eager for a gripping story, ignored the warnings. She had spent weeks researching the legend of the echoes, the voices of those lost in the woods, eternally trapped between life and death. Skeptical yet intrigued, she ventured in, camera in hand, determined to uncover the truth. The forest seemed to whisper secrets, the air thick with anticipation. Every step she took felt like a journey deeper into the unknown. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to come alive, as if it had a mind of its own. Elena's heart raced, but her resolve remained unshaken. She was determined to find the source of the echoes. One cold autumn evening, Elena Carter, a journalist eager for a gripping story, ignored the warnings. She had spent weeks researching the legend of the echoes, the voices of those lost in the woods, eternally trapped between life and death. Skeptical yet intrigued, she ventured in, camera in hand, determined to uncover the truth. The forest was silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and distant haunting whispers. Every step she took seemed to echo, as if the forest itself was alive, watching her every move. The deeper she went, the more she felt the weight of the legend pressing down on her. Her skepticism began to waver as the whispers grew louder, more distinct, almost calling her name. She knew she was close to uncovering the truth, but at what cost? The deeper she went, the quieter the world became. The wind no longer rustled the trees, and her own footsteps seemed muted. Then she heard it, a faint whisper calling her name, Elena. Her heart raced as she strained to hear more, but the whispering stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Shadows seemed to dance at the edge of her vision, making her question what was real. She continued forward, each step heavier than the last, the forest closing in around her. The whispers returned, more insistent this time, echoing through the trees. Determined to uncover the source, she pressed on, her fear mingling with curiosity. In the distance, a faint light appeared, beckoning her deeper into the unknown. Her blood ran cold. She spun around, shining her flashlight into the thick mist, but nothing was there. The whispers grew louder, turning into distorted, overlapping voices, some pleading, some weeping, some laughing. Panic set in. She turned to run, but the path she had taken was gone. In its place stood towering, gnarled trees with faces carved into their bark, twisted, screaming faces. She stumbled over roots, her breath coming in ragged gasps, heart pounding in her chest. Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but the forest seemed to close in on her. Shadowy figures moved among the trees, their forms barely visible in the mist. She screamed, covering her ears as the voices grew deafening, collapsing to the ground in sheer terror. Elena's breathing quickened as she backed away. Then something moved in the shadows. A figure emerged, a man with hollow eyes and torn clothes, his body flickering like a dying candle flame. "Man, leave, before it takes you too." Elena turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. The forest seemed to close in around her, the path barely visible. Ghostly whispers filled the air, urging her to leave. She stumbled, nearly falling, but pushed herself onward. Finally, she burst into a clearing, gasping for breath. She glanced back, the forest now eerily silent. But before she could react, blackened hands shot out from the trees, dragging the man into the darkness. His scream echoed through the forest, then silence. Elena ran, stumbling through the fog, the whispers now a deafening roar. Then she saw it, a massive tree in the center of the woods, its roots pulsating as if breathing. Faces, dozens of them pressed against the bark, people trapped inside their eyes filled with terror. Elena's heart pounded as she backed away, the forest closing in around her. Shadows moved, creeping closer. She could feel their cold breath on her neck. She glanced back, her eyes wide with fear, and then she ran, faster than ever before. Glowing eyes watched from the darkness, following her every move. Among them, she saw herself. The forest mirrored her soul, each shadow a fragment of her past, each rustle a whisper of forgotten memories. She stood still, entranced by the eerie beauty, feeling the weight of her own reflection. The darkness around her seemed to pulse with life, echoing the secrets she had long buried. In the stillness she found a strange comfort, a connection to the forest that was both haunting and profound. The reflection in the water shimmered, revealing not just her face, but the essence of who she was. It was a moment of clarity, a realization that the forest and she were one. Darkness swallowed her whole. The next morning, the townsfolk found Elena's camera near the forest's edge. The final video showed her staring into the lens, her eyes hollow, her mouth whispering something unheard. The townsfolk gathered around, their faces etched with worry and fear. They played the footage, but all they could see was static and hear faint whispers. As dawn broke, a misty path appeared, leading deeper into the forest. A shadowy figure emerged, barely visible through the fog, sending chills down their spines. The whispers grew louder, yet no words could be discerned, only the haunting echo of Elena's voice. The forest seemed alive, its secrets hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. No one dared to watch it twice, and the forest remained silent until it called for its next victim. The trees whispered secrets of those who ventured too far, their fates sealed by the shadows that lurked within. Every step taken was a gamble, every breath a risk, as the forest watched with unseen eyes. Legend spoke of a time when the forest was alive with laughter, but now only echoes of fear remained. The moon cast an eerie glow, illuminating paths that led to nowhere, trapping souls in an endless maze. Those who entered were never the same, their minds haunted by the forest's chilling embrace. And so the forest waited, patient and unyielding, for the next soul to wander into its grasp. The silence was deafening, a prelude to the terror that awaited those who dared to enter. The forest was not just a place, but a living entity, feeding on the fears of the lost. And as the night grew darker, the forest's call grew louder, beckoning the brave and the foolish alike. In the end, the forest always won, its secrets buried deep within the shadows, waiting to be discovered. The villagers whispered among themselves, wondering if Elena's fate was a warning or a curse. They avoided the forest, but the whispers never ceased. Every night, the village was filled with hushed conversations, speculating about the forest's true nature. Some believed it was cursed, a place where lost souls roamed, seeking redemption or revenge. Others thought it was a test, a trial for the brave to prove their worth. Yet no one dared to find out for themselves. The memory of Elena's venture was still fresh, a stark reminder of the dangers that lay hidden within. The forest's call was relentless, but the villagers' fear was stronger. They knew that once someone entered, they might never return, or worse, come back changed in ways unimaginable. And so the village remained on edge, caught between curiosity and terror, as the forest continued to loom over their lives, an ever-present shadow. The villagers knew that the forest held secrets, but the fear of the unknown kept them at bay, forever haunted by what lay within. Years passed, and the legend of the forgotten forest grew. Newcomers to the village were warned, but curiosity always got the better of some. The tales of Elena's venture and the whispers of the villagers became part of the village's lore, a story told to children to keep them safe and a warning to outsiders who dared to venture too close. The forest remained unchanged, its secrets guarded by the thick canopy and the shadows that moved within. Occasionally, a brave soul would enter, driven by the desire to uncover the truth or to prove their courage. Most never returned, and those who did were forever altered, their eyes haunted by what they had seen. The villagers watched as the forest claimed more lives, their fear turning into a deep-seated respect for the power that lay within. They understood that some mysteries were better left unsolved, that some paths were not meant to be taken. And so the legend of the forgotten forest persisted, a reminder of the delicate balance between curiosity and caution and the price one might pay for ignoring the warnings. One night, a group of teenagers dared each other to enter the forest. They laughed and joked, their voices echoing through the quiet village streets. The moonlight cast long shadows as they made their way to the forest's edge, their bravado masking the fear that lurked beneath. As they stepped into the dense thicket, the air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to swallow their laughter. The forest was silent, save for the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. The teenagers pressed on, their flashlights flickering and casting eerie shapes on the trees. Minutes turned into hours, and the path became less clear. The jokes ceased, replaced by nervous whispers and the occasional startled gasp. The forest seemed to close in around them, its secrets pressing in from all sides. Panic began to set in as they realized they were lost. Out of the silence, a scream shattered the night. One of the teenagers had seen something, a shadow moving just beyond the reach of their light. They turned to run, but the forest had other plans. Branches seemed to reach out, tripping them, slowing their escape. Their screams echoed through the trees, a haunting reminder of the forest's grip on those who dared to enter. The villagers heard the commotion, but knew better than to intervene. They stood at the edge of the forest, eyes filled with sorrow and resignation, knowing that the forest had claimed more lives. By morning, only one teenager stumbled out, eyes wide with terror, unable to speak of what they had witnessed. The forest had left its mark, and the legend grew stronger, a stark reminder of the dangers that lay within. And so the forest remained, its secrets guarded by the shadows, a place where laughter turned to screams and curiosity came at a terrible price. As dawn broke, the villagers cautiously approached the edge of the forest. The morning light revealed a haunting sight, scattered belongings of the teenagers who had dared to enter the night before. Flashlights, jackets, and personal items lay abandoned on the ground, a silent testament to the night's terror. The forest stood silent, its dense canopy hiding the secrets within. The villagers gathered the items, their faces etched with sorrow and dread. They knew the forest's reputation, but this time the loss felt even more profound. The teenagers were never seen again, swallowed whole by the forest's insatiable darkness. Whispers spread through the village like wildfire, tales of shadows that moved on their own, and branches that reached out like skeletal hands. The legend of the forest grew stronger, a chilling reminder of the price of curiosity. The villagers, now more wary than ever, forbade anyone from entering the forest, a place where light dared not tread and shadows held dominion. The belongings were kept as a somber memorial, a reminder of the lives claimed by the forest's enigmatic grip. And so the forest remained, its secrets deeper, its legend darker, a place where the line between reality and nightmare blurred, and those who entered seldom returned. The forest remained silent, but the villagers knew it was only a matter of time before it called for its next victim. Each day, the whispers grew louder, and the shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own. The once vibrant village now lived under a blanket of fear, each resident acutely aware of the forest's insidious presence. Children were warned with hushed voices, and the once lively paths leading into the forest were now overgrown and abandoned. Yet the forest's call was irresistible to some. It was as if the very air carried a magnetic pull, drawing the curious and the brave towards its dark heart. One crisp autumn evening, a young man named Daniel, fueled by a mix of bravery and foolhardiness, decided to confront the forest. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and a camera, he ventured into the shadows, determined to uncover the truth behind the legend. As he stepped into the forest, the air grew colder, and the sounds of the village faded into an eerie silence. The trees seemed to close in around him, their branches twisting and turning like gnarled fingers. With each step, Daniel felt the weight of countless eyes upon him, unseen but ever present. His flashlight flickered, casting long, wavering shadows that seemed to move with a will of their own. The deeper he went, the more the forest seemed to come alive, whispering secrets and ancient tales. Daniel pressed on, his heart pounding in his chest, driven by a mixture of fear and determination. But as the hours passed, the forest's true nature began to reveal itself. The whispers grew louder, now filled with a sinister intent, and the shadows seemed to reach out, trying to ensnare him. Daniel's resolve wavered, and he realized the forest was not a place to be conquered, but a living, breathing entity that demanded respect. In a moment of clarity, Daniel turned and fled, racing back towards the village with the forest's whispers echoing in his ears. As he emerged from the tree line, breathless and shaken, he knew he had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. The villagers watched in silence as Daniel recounted his harrowing experience, their faces pale with fear. The legend of the forest grew even darker, a chilling reminder of the forces that lay hidden within. And so the forest remained, its call ever present, a place where the brave and the foolish met their end, and where the line between reality and nightmare blurred.